word of the day, gentlemen, is it's actually the letter of the day, is I. And we've touched on Iran. We'll get back to it. We have impeachment to get to. But let's go to Iowa. Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren lead the field in Iowa, both statistically tied for first place, according to the latest CNN Des Moines Register Mediacom poll. Sanders has 20% support, up 5 points since November. Warren sits at 17%, up 1 point. Both are within the poll's almost 4-point margin of error. Former Mayor Pete Buttigieg follows closely behind with 16%, down 9 points. Former Vice President Joe Biden has 15%, unchanged since November. Senator Amy Klobuchar is at 6%. Andrew Yang still at 5% of support,
so
up 2.
We're going to dig in more into this poll in just 1 second. I just want to bring up, though, Mr. Kornacki, the New Hampshire poll last week. That was almost identical to this. 4, you got the top 4. They're all basically within the margin of error. This is, if it were a horse race, like they're going around the corner at Kentucky Derby, and you got 4 horses lined up next to each other. This is last week, 20, 19, 18, 15. And by the way, Elizabeth Warren at 15-1, and she was in 4th place or 3rd place, close behind in the other. Man, if you're Elizabeth Warren, you're actually kind of liking that because her on-the-ground operation is stellar, and she's the number 2 choice of a lot of people in Iowa. And Iowa, that matters.
Well, so both states, 4 candidates within 5 points of each other, within 5 points of the lead there from last to first place. That means that there are 4 candidates right now who are not implausibly set up, if they can get a couple points their way in Iowa, to win Iowa, get all the momentum that comes from winning Iowa. You get that 8-day stretch between Iowa and New Hampshire. We all talk about the winner. We all talk about how it's panic time for whoever didn't meet expectations, and potentially roll that into New Hampshire. Both very fluid, both very bunched at the top. If somebody can get a clear victory in Iowa, you look historically and you say, it's very possible that person's going to roll that into New Hampshire. And to play this out, again, we only have about 9, 10 examples in the modern era. But candidates who have won both Iowa and New Hampshire in contested Democratic nomination races so far are undefeated. That has been an unstoppable. I'm not saying it will be now. There's a major question of Biden's strength in South Carolina if he doesn't come through here. But the possibility of somebody getting clearance in those first 2, it exists.
You know, and by the way, when TJ tells you that he's coming to you.
Yes.
Is that why you did that?
Well, no,
That's
Allie was helping me
TJ.
bring my book over. Appreciate it. I just wanted to thank her.
All right.
Anyway.
So Pat Buchanan, actually, remember, he'd always talk about how you'd get $100 million. You know, when he went to New Hampshire, he said it's basically worth $100 million of earned media.
Yeah.
Same thing with Iowa. So Iowa, New Hampshire, whoever. And by the way, as we found in 2008, it doesn't matter if you're in 2nd place by 1 point or 3rd place by 1 point. You know, John Edwards' campaign, because he was just, I think, below Hillary, had a pretty rough impact on his campaign. So, yeah, whoever can squeak this thing out in Iowa, a winner is a winner is a winner.
Is a winner, and the first one. So, Adrian Elrod, what do you see happening in these 2 states, Iowa and New Hampshire, given these polls?
Well, Mika, I mean, first of all, this is going to be such a close race. And to the point that Joe just mentioned, the ground game is going to be everything. It could make up the difference between those 4 and 5 points where the gap exists, i.e. Elizabeth Warren. And to the point that you all just talked about with Elizabeth Warren being the common second choice among a lot of caucus goers, that is huge because you've got to keep in mind every single caucus. I think there's about 1,600 different caucus locations throughout the state of Iowa. Every single caucus, you as a candidate, in order to go forward after the first round of caucus going, you have to get 15% of the vote of the actual people in that room. 15% of you at least those people have to be in your corner. If not, i.e. if you're Amy Klobuchar, you get 6 or 7% of the people in that room, then your people are free to go in the second round to whomever they want to go to. And if their choice is Elizabeth Warren, that can significantly boost her. You've also got to keep in mind that this time in Iowa, they are also releasing the raw vote total. So it's not just the 41 delegates that are awarded in Iowa. It's also the raw vote total. So for the first time, we will be able to see how many people who cast a vote for who and how that raw total vote total plays out, that's not necessarily going to mean more delegates. It's not going to have anything to do with delegates, but it will show a different kind of momentum. So I think the messaging game in Iowa is also going to be important for candidates, because you could have somebody who, ekes out, one or two more delegates than, the first place person could get, 20 delegates. The second place person could get 18 delegates, or probably not that high, but some variation of that. But if you have a high vote total, you can message that to also try to show momentum going into New Hampshire. So it's going to be fascinating. But also to the point you both just mentioned, if somebody, i.e. Bernie Sanders, i.e. even Pete Buttigieg, pulls out a win in Iowa, New Hampshire, that is going to be a very difficult momentum track to change, because that, especially in a large race like this with so many candidates running, if someone can pull off a win in both of those two states, that's going to be very significant.
Yeah, and obviously Mayor Pete desperately needs something like that right now, based on a poll that came out this past weekend, and that is black voters, black Democratic likely voters to vote. Been my obsession in this entire race, because it seems that New Hampshire and Iowa may matter less if somebody that's polling, 2% among black voters wins those states. Joe, thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.